Welcome everybody. I'm so glad you were able to participate. My name is Victoria Leonardo and I am a career and education outreach specialist for Workforce Solutions Capital Area. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to our career awareness webinar series. Basically what this series is video interviews with professionals in industries that are with in-demand careers. We're trying to teach you about career and education pathways in Central Texas with in-demand jobs. So today I have Rick Zamora. He is a mortgage loan originator with Amplify Credit Union, and I'm so excited to have you here and learn all about you. Just a disclosure to everybody, I have my questions under me, so in case I'm looking down, it's for my questions. Okay, so let's get started. So first, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your role is with Amplify Credit Union.
Yeah, my name is Rick Zamora. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. I've been in Austin on and off for 25 years. Been in a different range of careers throughout my time. I have an 8-year-old little girl named Allie, best kid I know. And she's here with me in Austin. So yeah, and with Amplify, my role with them would be, I'm a mortgage loan officer, originator, wants to either refinance their house or purchase a house, and meet with them to take a look at their, finances, their assets, their willingness to pay, which, we have a guidelines that tell us whether or not, someone would qualify, right, for a mortgage. So I spend my time meeting with them on the first, and we structure and we go through it. It's, it's the biggest purchase of their life, and, some of the biggest, decisions they have to make, so it's a time lengthy process. But yeah, so that's basically, what I do is I help them to see and determine, and then we make the decision on whether or not they can afford or purchase or finance their home for a better situation, better rate.
They gotta have a lot of trust in you, huh? If they want a house.
Because I'm the one with the money, and
yeah, I know, right? They gotta be nice.
That's on the other side too, where transparency in this job is really key, on both sides.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I'm getting a house soon, hopefully maybe in a year, so might be calling you.
Yeah.
Okay, so please describe your typical workday and what are your main responsibilities throughout the day?
So this is why I like doing what I do. There'd be some days where, like today, I'm in the office, in the corporate office, and I'm structuring, taking phone calls and helping our processors. There's a process with the loan where it comes in. I get it first. I originate. I structure the loan. I then determine whether or not they qualify by the guidelines and compliance that we follow. May and Freddie Mac, and but then from there it goes on to production and processing. So when I'm in the office, it's a lot of kind of computer work, gathering documents, structuring loans. But what I love about this job is that tomorrow, though, I'm going golfing in the morning, with, and it's building connections and networks. It's those that we strengthen that allow us to do business together and build.
Right.
Take an idea of a homeowner, a member, thinking about purchasing it and turn it into reality. So there's multiple factors involved in that, and multiple people.
Yeah. So you do a lot of you have to have really good communication skills and be able to the admin side then, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just a matter of, whether you're introverted or extroverted, right? Communication is key, however you do it. So, you just have to be able to understand, and so does the other partner, and that the only way to get across, the next milestone is to be able to express what you need, right? And be what's needed, and work together to accomplish those, those goals. But yeah.
And it's cool that you get to dip your toes into both. You get to meet with clients, you get to talk with them and have a relationship, but you also get to sit at the desk and do admin work, because a lot of people do both. And at least for me, when I think of anybody in credit unions or anything within the finance world, I think it's just numbers and admin work, and it's not like that. So it's cool to know that.
Yeah, and it's good because, when we look at this, it's at least on my end, and this is what I love about Amplify, is that it's not about the transaction, it's
Right.
about the relationship, right? So once we can take the transaction out of there, we form a relationship, whether it's the borrower, the member, or realtor or title company, then because of that relationship and as it strengthens, it benefits, the person involved, right? Like the member for buying the house, it benefits.
Right.
To understand, because it's not just about getting through, a transaction. It's about understanding completely what their needs are, what they can afford, if they're better options,
Right.
It's not like just a straight up product. It's actually just understanding where they are and how we can help them.
Yeah, it's like the biggest purchase of their life, pretty much.
The biggest one, yeah.
So, why did you choose, or how did you decide to, be a mortgage loan originator? What was your pathway?
Yeah, well, so before kind of a bunch of different things, but I've always been in sales. But right before Amplify, I was working with a nonprofit. I founded one underneath an umbrella that helped and inner city kids. So we use soccer, work, and education, and to help them,
Oh, that's cool.
kind of go up there. Yeah. So now what we're seeing is for 5 years, that's what I did, was nonprofit work. We talk about sales because you're asking people, to donate for something that they won't get in return, except for
Right.
actually when they help someone, right? Which to me is worth more. But so anyway, so I did that before, but I met Steve, my boss, through networking, through the whole thing, and he had come to me and said, I want you to work with me, and at first I was like, mortgage finance, I'm anything like that. What do you mean?
Right.
And so he didn't hound me, but he definitely put it in my head, and I thought about it, and met with him a few times, and was very interested, just because I had friends that were, financial services. So
Yeah.
I took a shot because I had no experience doing mortgage, and it's one of the hardest industries to get into because there are just so many guidelines. I make a mistake, we make a mistake, I'm responsible. I mean, it's even like I can go to jail, with somebody.
Yeah.
It's very much, a huge responsibility, and also for me, there's a responsibility to make sure that I'm doing what's right for the member, for the home borrower, for their family, right? Like every name on the application has a wide story beneath them, and normally there's little ones involved and a wife involved and a story involved, so
Yeah.
that I get to become part of that story.
Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it. Like, I love how you said, like, it's not like a transaction to y'all. It's like you want to gain the relationship, because you just never know, like, who they could tell, like, their friends about, or their, like, family about, like, hey, this guy was awesome, or this guy wasn't awesome. And, you want to keep that rapport with people. And I think it's pretty cool that someone came up to you and was like, work for me. I've never had that done, but I think that's cool.
I mean, it is crazy because I think one of the hardest, it's been real easy for me because I don't like saying I'm a salesperson, right? Which I'm good,
Yeah.
I'm good with people, right? I listen,
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to speak. I listen to understand, right?
Right.
Choose my words that way to find out, is there a benefit to it, right? Whether it's personal or whatever. But yeah, it's about being, just personal the best you can.
Yeah. I love that.
That just helps. That's helped me to where people are like, wow, that's great. Have you ever tried doing this? I think,
Yeah.
and it was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. It's fate. Okay, so what level of education or training is needed to work for Amplify? I know there's probably a lot of different types of
Yeah.
careers, like with an Amplify, but what would you say, like maybe with your job specifically, and then maybe like an entry level job?
So entry level jobs here, like one of the higher ups' daughters is still in high school, but she's getting work as a teller, like one of the entry level, right? So then,
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
so some of the other, when you get a little bit above that, a high school diploma, equivalents. Some people in my industry have degrees. Some people have their license. For a depository, you don't need a license to do this. You would just need the minimum, right? I took the test anyway, and I passed it, but it wasn't one of those that you pass and you get a certificate. I paid for the wrong one, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh no.
I'm going back and doing it now that I know I can, but for
Yeah.
it didn't require it, but you have to get, your NMLS, you have to be registered, right? So you register your number, it's tied to you in every transaction, so they can
Oh wow.
loan, and they'll know that I was a loan originator. So just like a realtor would be tied by that number as well.
Yeah.
If you were to go to work for an independent broker, you would need to be licensed. But for Amplify, you don't. But and the training is pretty. I would say there's not a whole lot of it. There's a lot of reading and a lot of researching and there's guidelines there. So it is really, really, truly important that I as a LO am seeking that information. Right, it's there for me. Changes. I have the most amazing support group here in our processing and production and in sales that allow us to, they're always giving us education, our courses.
Yeah. So they pay for, like, if you do want training, they'll like pay for it for you, or do they give you like the?
I think they'll have their own. I'm not sure if they pay for it or not, but they provide it for us. So to be stuff that we have to just.
Oh, okay.
Guidelines, change your compliance. We'll have things. It's called Amplify University, and we'll go on
cool.
training, whether it's relevant to my job or relevant to the credit union. It's a little bit of both. And to make the guideline change, and all of us are responsible for going on there and understanding them and printing them out. And then, again, other LOs, as we call ourselves, I work in such an amazing team. If you ever have it, one of them is going to know the answer. And each loan that we get is so different.
Yeah.
Some of them are super complicated. Some of them are like, what? In 25 years of someone else doing one, they were like, Rick, we've never heard that, and work through it, and it's fun.
Yeah.
You become a private investigator as well. And
Mm-hmm.
and
I love that.
It's like, how can you do this within, the set for us, and
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah, so y'all wear like a lot of hats then, you'd say.
We do, yeah, and it's crazy because our responsibilities are also to not only take care of our members, but to go out in the community, right, and serve where we're working. Like I work here at Parma and Esperanza, and I live in the domain. So these my community. So not only am I servicing my community, Amplify also allows us 40 hours every year to give back and volunteer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we will have opportunities to go out and into our community where we work, where we serve. And that's great, because I served alongside someone I funded their house, and
no, that's awesome.
They told me all about it, and it was amazing. Or someone that, you save, I think we saved them like $4,000 a month.
Oh my God.
A month, because there was an illness and credit cards, and they were able to refinance. And, willing to not only just look at certain things, they were willing to look at everything, and the story involved too, and determine that it did fit. And, I don't want to go off too much, but there are conventional loans, right? Portfolio are the ones that we lend out our own money. Amplify has over $1 billion in assets. So we also have our own type of loans that we do. So we can do differently. So sometimes we look at those stories. Sometimes we're like, we'll maybe take a chance, you know what I mean? And look at the risk factors. And again, I don't make the final decision, but
but you're in the process, like of
yeah. It all comes back to me if something goes wrong anyway.
You're like, that's the most important part, that it comes back to me. No, I'm learning so much. I'm glad I got to be on this call because I knew nothing about any of this, like with loans and houses, and because there's just so much, and it's so nice to be able to be like, I know somebody who's like credible, who knows what they're doing, and they're not gonna like mess me over, So right. I love that. I'm going to show all my friends this video one more time. Okay, so what academic and technical skills are required? We kind of already went over that, but is there anything else that you think, like, or even like soft skills that you think that people coming into Amplify, no matter if they're entry level or not, like that they would need to have, or they should grow to get?
And I would say communication. I think it's so key that no matter where you work, you know, and everyone's different. You're walking to a good company, whether it's even a new, you know, right, or anything, but especially a company, is to be open, is to practice, practice, you know, even those, it's so hard that might be a little, you know, introverted, to just used to, you know, to speaking to people, to looking them, you know, in the eye, right, and not shying away, to that maybe even count out in your head 10 seconds of speaking with someone instead of rushing off. I mean, all those relationships amounts to you know, but I mean, I think a great understanding of that person, right? So if you know them on a daily basis or not, you're going to see them, and we're a community, and it's a culture, you know. And I would say just do the best you can, and just being open, and even a simple hello every day, you know, to someone, it kind of helps on that end of it, because you never know if you're going to be working with that person eventually.
That's true. Yeah.
But communication is really key, though, and know that you're walking into not just a company, but an organization that cares about their members. And that's what I love about Amplify, because it's member owned, and, you know, and member.
Yeah. That is cool. Yeah. And you just never know, like, who, like, what kind of relationship you're gonna need to make with like a customer. Like every customer is so different, I'm sure. So it's like you have to put on like different hats every time that you meet with somebody, because what they need, like what you were saying, might be so different from Sally than it is Joe. So just having those communication skills. I mean, I feel like we work a lot with students, like we work in the classrooms, and a lot of them are like, I don't even know like what I need to have to get a job, like skill set wise. And communication is like across the board, you know, and a lot of kids don't think about soft skills like that, because they think like, oh, I need my diploma, or I need to be good at math. And it's like, we just need, like, communication is like one of like the biggest basics things, and a lot of people don't have it, unfortunately.
And you know, in communication, I think when they say that, it sounds like, I think for some of the, because I work with the youth, right? A conversation. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, I tell them communication is listening, and the majority of my job is, because if I don't listen and understand what, you know, the borrower, what the member, what my coworker is saying, I can't possibly, you know, understand or comprehend exactly what I'm going to do if I need to do something, right? So
Exactly.
like sitting down and listening, and letting them finish. And again, not having not thinking about your response as they're speaking, but literally just understanding it, writing it down, understanding their viewpoint to see how you can better whatever situation you're in, whether, you know, or whether it's just like a, plans for the weekend. I mean, anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, because we do a lot of events together, like, you know, so I have a lot of realtors and escrow officers, and I mean, there's insurance people. I mean, they all mingle together. There's a happy hour at every, I mean, with or without alcohol, but you know, there's
I love that.
an event every night. So I mean, I spend a lot of time going to most of the events, and it is literally, that's just it, is mingling, hearing, understanding, having fun. So yeah,
Gaining those relationships with like outside entities are like such a big thing. Yeah. Dang. Happy hours are fun, and golf. So you win. Okay. So since we do work a lot with teachers, what do you think teachers should teach a student in the classroom to like prepare for like employment with someone like Amplify or Amplify?
Excuse me. Oh, that's a great question. And I thought about this one too. And you know, what I came up with was understanding. I wish in school I would have had a better understanding of credit, of my ability.
Me too.
of my budgeting.
Yeah.
Of knowing basic things like that. You know, because most of what I'm finding is a lot of these borrowers that are coming in, you know, we finance houses, right, and condominiums, and that's what we do. But in any financial services, you have to have your ability to pay, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is how you know what I'm saying, you give assets to provide the bank, you know, assurance that, you know, you're going to pay if something happens, right? And then how much your debt to income also tells a story on how much you bring in compared to, to what you're bringing out. So I think it's super important if we could. My high school did not. They did a little bit of some checking, like balancing and stuff, but understanding like what credit is, understanding how that works in, we are debt to income, calculators out there. There's awesome tools online that you can start looking at. Okay, if I save this, right, or I need this amount just for my first home. I would say that's one of the most important things, I think, is just the money as they're coming out of high school into college.
Yeah.
We're going to take on debt, whether it's student loans, whether it's, what I'm saying, like school. I mean, just however they do, they end up with some debt. And, how do you manage that debt?
Right.
Responsibly. Because, in this society, we grow up, get out of high school, go to college. And I'm not saying everybody, but, you buy a house, get married, whatever it is, it's sometimes in that order, maybe not. But either way, a house is most, it's on the time frame for many, many people.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's understanding that point, because I get a lot of them that are in their 20s and 30s and, with great income, but have not really taken care of some of the other things.
Yeah.
Like, man, I wish I would have known that. I wish I would have known that. I said the same thing coming out of high school. That might, so anyway, I would think that just understanding credit, budgeting, understanding, how to put things in savings, right? And how not to touch it, how to.
That's a big one. I feel like even in college, like I wasn't taught about like the technicality of like taking out student loans, because like I have student loans, and now that I'm on the like tail end of it, because I'm out of school, it's like not a pretty picture to look at. So it's like you have to remember like that just stays with you until they're gone, which is a bummer, but nobody teaches you that because it's not the pretty side of things, No,
and I think, but it's so important, and
yeah, definitely.
I'll tell a quick story. I won't mention any names, but I had an amazing friend of mine who was saving for 2 years for a down payment on a house and paying off debt, doing certain things. I didn't know this, because I wasn't in the industry yet. And I got in the industry and she said, I've been doing this. So finally we get to the point where, she's working with me and we're looking at the assets and in our industry, we have to, the assets that you're using towards the purchase of a home need to be seasoned and accounted for. You know what I mean? So they need to be, and she had about $150,000 in cash sitting in a mattress that we could not touch. So that's what I'm saying. Education like that, where we think $150,000 to put, down almost, that was half of what the house is going to cost, but we couldn't use that money until it was seasoned. So it's like those things to where she lost the house that she wanted. There's very little we can do. Amplify, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's stuff like that, educating, understanding those things, I think is, to really make it. I think because for me, teachers, my father left when I was younger. So teachers and coaches and counselors a huge role in my life.
Yeah.
And I had lucky enough, I had one English teacher that I spent time with afterwards that really kind of gave me those little, advice or tools to look into. And because he somehow knew that I was, you know what I mean? Maybe coming out of here, not having that, right? So I think that's important, is to be able to, start talking about the finances, junior, senior year, maybe even earlier than that.
Yeah, I feel like it's never too early now, especially with like kids like in technology and like middle school. They're like, I feel like students are so far ahead in like what we think, because like it's like foreign to us, that like I bet they would comprehend it because they're all just so smart. Like to me, when I was in high school, I like never used a computer. I never knew how to do emails, and now that's all they're doing. And it's crazy to me. So I definitely think like there's never a young enough age. Of course, if they're like in elementary school, it's probably a little too young, but like maybe like middle school or high school, like just introducing it to them, because, a lot of students do see like banks and credit unions all the time, and it's just always processing in their head. So I think it's nice to give them a little bit more like information of like, this is what they do, and this is how they do it, and this is what you can do if you want, so I love that. I think I think we should definitely like bring it into like middle school and high schoolers because they're just so eager to learn. I feel
Yeah,
like.
yeah. And some of them are working. I mean, my
Yeah.
you know, when she wants something, when she gets her allowance and she puts aside, you know, a percentage of it in a jar to, you know, eventually, you know,
Yeah.
she wants, you know, and she has to budget that, you know, so
Exactly.
make up for it anyway. But stuff like that, I think that would truly help, especially in kind of industry. If you're going into one, you have to understand what, you know, the members or your clients are going through as well.
Exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. Do you have like any like materials or websites that they can show students or like that students can work on?
Absolutely, yeah. And you can go on to, yes, there's different articles, there's wonderful articles, and I can send you all
Yeah,
links.
definitely. And we can tag them underneath the video.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it'll just be on how to get started. Maybe, you know, if you're thinking about doing a house, how to prepare yourself for this. And I think it's important. You know, they teach home ec, right? In some
Yeah.
places, but
Mm-hmm.
you gotta get the house first, you know, as well later. I mean,
Yeah.
not that you can't do it obviously at your parents or where you live, but
Exactly.
you're going into an adult too where it's not, you know, anyway, I think it'd be very beneficial.
Yeah, I would like to read it too. So, and the students, but you
Yeah.
just never know. Okay, so how has technology affected your position?
It's made it super easy. I haven't been to, I mean, you know, like some of the older guys, you know, that took applications by paper, and
Oh, wow.
now we have DocuSign. We have
Yeah.
that are tied in with other ones that talk to other computers and, you know, just communicate within machines and programs. And it's amazing where we used to have to bring in the borrowers to sign, and now they can DocuSign almost everything aside from maybe a few documents at the very end. So
Crazy.
they upload their information onto our site. You know, we were born Amplify, and what was it in 1967? IBM. There were 10 employees for IBM that were based here in Austin that started IBM. I think it's Texas Federal Credit Union, and then
Oh, yeah.
that is now Amplify. So we're from a tech, you know, company. You know,
I
like
never knew that. That's awesome.
the engineers are the ones that started this. So we pride ourselves on the fact that we have it's very convenient, very easy to use technology to alone, you know, and some of these things you don't even ever have to meet anyone. Like, I mean, I do many deals where I see them in closing, but I can go through the whole month of forming a relationship with a borrower or a member and not ever seeing them at all until the very last close and not even
That's
knowing
so crazy.
so,
And
yeah.
like people want things like they're like I want to do it now or I want like it's so easy and so that's nice that like
Yeah.
if they can't come to see you that they have the option of like doing things virtually because a lot of people prefer that sometimes.
The majority of them now, like I like the people part of it, you know, and I do like
Yeah.
some of the elderly as well. And it's a lot
Yeah.
of refugees I worked with before who I was helping get their financial status together are now able to buy houses. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm helping them, you know, so they came here with nothing. I worked with them for 5 years and now they have money saved. You know what I mean? They can
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
it's awesome. But yeah, I would say that just technology has allowed us to really let them continue to do, you know, what in their lives and take the hassle out of, you know, give their time back, I think, to them. You know, it's that much
Yeah.
fun.
No, definitely. And I think a lot of people, especially like if they have children and stuff, they probably appreciate that for sure. Um, what are the positive aspects of your job? You've kind of touched on them, but are there anything else that like screams to you like I love this job because of this?
I love this job when a young or couple, it's their first time buying a house, you know, and seeing the excitement, seeing the nervousness, seeing the unsurety, right, and just all together, as scary for them as it is, it's our job to make it less scary because it is scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can't take that away, but I love that part where when they finally are closing on their house and I'm taking them a gift bag to their new house and they're already living there and seeing the smile on their face, is amazing. Or on the other side, with financing, with refinancing, people in positions that, that they have plenty of equity, right? And a refinance would help them save so much money just before. And just to see that deep breath that gets the sign of relief, right? Of, my gosh, we can finally do this, or we're going to be better.
Yeah.
That kind of thing for me, that is why I love doing this. It's just the satisfaction of understanding how we help someone, and better their lives.
Yeah, I love that. You're like foreshadowing my life. Hopefully one day I'll get approved.
Right.
I love that. Okay. What advice would you give to a student who is interested in working in the financial services?
I would say get with someone. I mean, speak with your parents, friends, and try and see if they know someone in that industry. Even if it's not, if you're, whether it's mortgage or financial planning or any of that's going to be relevant. Understanding all of it is I mean, it's a good thing to know a little bit about everything. But if you get a chance to maybe work in an office, as an intern, or just even for the day, go in there and see and get little tidbits, but always be researching, always be listening, read the articles, keep up with them, things like that. There's a lot of stuff, but I would say that personal hands-on experience with someone, if you can get in, because I would love to have someone who would spend a day with me. I would absolutely,
like a mentorship kind of thing.
Right, just say like, hey, come look see what it's like. I mean, there's certain information that we can't share, right? But there's can though, especially when it comes to communication, the screen and the computer work, the structuring, it's same thing all the time, right? But network, because some kids, like I'm terrified, like I'm not even comfortable doing interviews like this, to be quite honest, but, or speaking, in public. But I would say that I think it's important also for classrooms, if they can, is to create like a mock, I wouldn't say, I'm not saying happy hour, but like a social. Yeah. Have them, kind of like take on different roles on what they want to be. I don't know how they would do it. I mean, I'm sure they're creative. That helped us with the refugees. We were trying to interact with them, with the American kids, and always sided. And when we did that, it was amazing how all of them now, there was friendships being made every time you exercise. People who never thought that you'd be friends, and you're not going to get along with everyone, right? And
but you just never know.
But it's that interaction. It's the practice. It's the not isolating in the corner. It's to actually interact with people.
I love that.
Helpful, I think, for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of teachers, like what I at least see in the schools, are like kids are so susceptible to just go to their group and not like go to students that they don't know in the classroom. Right. And so it would be nice to get them to branch out, because I always try to tell them, like, you might have your friend now, but like, what if y'all go to different schools or, have different jobs? Like it happens to everybody, and it's an okay thing to happen. It's just, how do you navigate that? So that's such a good point. I think teachers would love to see students like break out of their shell too. So, okay. My last question is, what would you recommend teachers to do to strengthen the, the camaraderie within school and the workplace? So, because what I've seen a lot is students, at least like now it's kind of different when like quarantine was happening, students were just home, like thinking of their future. But in school, it's like the future and like working is so far fetched to them that they can't grasp the idea of doing it or wanting a career. So like, what would you, at least for me, like, what would you say to students that are just so far fetched of like, I don't really care to go to school, I don't really care to have a job? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that it's more important, to love what you do, in my opinion, than to do something you're going to be miserable with, right? But in order to do that, you have to have a passion for something. It's just, I would challenge them to truly think about what that passion is, and I mean, I have a friend of mine who wants to be a doctor and has a hard time, wanting to go to medical school. I'm like, not going to happen then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like keeping that, I mean, and he's a smart guy, but he just can't decide. And it's one of those things where it's like, just focus, passion, think about how you can really change, your future by sacrificing your time now, into building like a career
Yeah,
life for yourself. It takes money. It takes money to do things. It takes provision,
exactly.
so
And I think students forget that like high school goes like so quick, and then it's like there is no more high school anymore. Like you have like you don't have those coaches, you don't have those teachers, like you gotta go do it. And so I think it's like kind of what you're saying, like keeping that like dream in their mind, but making sure that like they know how to get there and they keep focus on it. I mean, you can only, you can't make anybody do anything, but you can always like be that person to just remind them like, hey, you did want to be a doctor, you do want to be a doctor, you got to go do this if you want to be a doctor. So I like that.
Yeah, and it's the mentor. I think it's the mentorship for me. You know what I mean? Someone that you trust, that's going to encourage you to have a good support system, because it's easy to want to have fun. It's easy to just want to travel these days. It's easy to do those things, and you can. There's a healthy balance with it, but eventually you have to live. Eventually, if you go that route, then you contribute, you need to provide, right? So I would say, for me, what helped me again were teachers, which were, I think they saw that I was maybe not going off on a wrong path. I didn't have a right path either. I had no path.
Yeah.
So they took it upon themselves, especially some of the coaches and a teacher, to say, hey, Rick, why don't you think about what's important? Think about your life in 5 years and think, where do you want to be, right? And of course, I'm in California, and I was surfing in California during that time. But because of their advice, I was also working, I was working in a print industry, and later on it became a little business, but just have drive. Like, they kept up. It's intentional for the student as well to be intentional with that relationship. It's not just for the mentor.
Yeah.
I would say get someone you trust and ask them in this industry that you possibly are thinking about, and just, allow him, to give advice, allow him to direct you, listen to the ideas. I think that's going to keep them. I mean, I would say it did for me. It kept me, more grounded. And even though
definitely
surfing in California, it was always in the back of my mind. I was always doing something to progress myself forward, and still not knowing where, I'm 44 years old, and I started a new career a year and a half ago in finance. So you just never know, but it was people who I trust that I put in place and I listened to.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. And it's always good to have like build those relationships with students so they do trust you, because sometimes students are like, you're just an older person, I don't want to talk to you. But It's like, no, we have so much, like we just don't want you to do what we did wrong, or whatever it may be. So that was really, really good advice. And we're hoping that we can show this video while we're on campuses to classes. So they'll be able to see like, okay, maybe one day I do want to be like him, or I do want to work with him, or I want to be a mentor with him. But Rick, thank you so much. We're done with all the questions. If there's anything else, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we head out, or?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity too. It was, when they approached me, about it at first, I kept thinking, I by no means think I'm a, finance or even mortgage loan officer expert at this point. It's that I jumped into and I caught on, and it's going great, and the thing though is that if I didn't have, the last thing I'll say is it's about support systems. Like, we tend to be in relationship with other people,
Yeah, definitely.
We find our counterparts, our friends, our family, and we relate to some more. I would say that just stick to those that are going to be a positive figure, but also speak the truth into your life, so no matter
definitely.
you're going to have some support there, and I think that's going to be truly, truly important, especially picking a career and planning the rest of your life, But
Yeah,
I hope
definitely.
I answered all the questions though. I kept thinking, I know
No,
some,
you did. Yes. And when we start showing these in the schools, if students ever have questions or want to reach out to you, I'll be sure to connect y'all.
please, I would love that. Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, I think they would be like super willing to come, at least just like see us in like one-on-one, or if you ever came into a class and talked to them. So I know it's kind of, we don't really know what school looks like next year, but
Yeah,
even like something virtual like this would be awesome. But
Mhm.
I just want to thank you,
anytime.
and yeah, and I hope you stay safe out there in your building. But if you ever need anything, just let us know. And thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Bye, Leslie. Have a good day.
Bye, you too. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Welcome.